Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
We've got Spec Racer Ford and Spec Miata, and as well as two different touring car classes featuring the Volkswagen Jetta TDI Cup cars, as well as the Toyota GR86 Cup cars, and they're both out on track right now for qualifying. We'll talk a little bit more about them in just a moment. And each one of those four classes, they will race 6 times over the course of our 9-week season, of which tonight is the very first week. And so it is week number 1, and on tap tonight, we're going to have 2 20-minute sprint races. First up, as I mentioned, going to be the touring cars, and then a little bit later tonight, we are going to have the Spec Racer Fords out on track for their first sprint race of the season. And as for those Spec Miatas, don't run away. We're going to have them no less to that long draftable back straight and onto the towering final corner. That's the first thing, oddly enough, that you see taunting you as you enter the front gate of this facility. It's the iconic American road course, Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. And so good evening, Jack. How are you this evening? And welcome to season number 9 of the Esports Racing League.
Thank you, Greg. I'm looking forward to this season. I got to do a few of the races at the end of the last season with you in season 8, so I'm looking forward to some good racing tonight. And I love Road Atlanta, and everything that you said about it is correct. It is treacherous, and it is fun.
Yeah, I mean, there are no two ways about it. When you get it right, it's got absolutely amazing flow. When you get it wrong, in iRacing, it usually means you're hitting the reset button. In real life, you're in some cases replacing a race car. But let's do this, Jack. Let's turn things over to Morgan Burkhardt. He's actually out on track, I believe, right now for qualifying. But we're going to turn things over to Morgan Burkhardt because, as he did all last season, he's going to provide us with a track guide of tonight's venue, Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the 2.5 mile long 12 corner beautiful track nestled nowhere near Atlanta, which is the track is called Road Atlanta. One of my most favorite tracks. Kind of coming down this front straight, we're going to use the old pit out to sweep into this banked high speed, high load turn 1, raising up this steep hill coming into the blind turn 3. Catches a lot of people out. You want to aim for these curbs. These curbs are your friends in this car, and just flow the car through here. It's a big dance, it's a ballet, and it feels so good when you get it right. Just straight lining all the way down the S's through the bad, nasty, gnarly turn 5. Curbs are your friend again. Using all the track as possible, getting these late apexes in, coming over the crest of the hill, running down to turn 6. Uphill braking zone a little bit into another banked corner. You can carry a lot more speed than you think you can. And then the most important corner on the track, turn 7. This curb on the inside will pop the car up. Gets a little bit of wheel spin, so you got to kind of look out for that. But such a long back, not so really straight. But the draft really comes into play here. You can gain a lot, you can lose a lot if you don't get turn 7 right. So look out for people getting kind of freight train coming down here. If 3 or 4 people hook together and the guy in front didn't get a good run, he's going to be 5th or 6th by the end of the straight coming into turn 10A. Heavy braking zone downhill. It's very awkward. Cutting this, abusing the track limits through the section, carrying all the speed that you can, using all the road, coming up under the Fox Factory Bridge into turn 12. Steep downhill, 12-story drop into the final corner. Shortest distance possible and across the line for a lap at Road Atlanta for Ray Esports and Spec Racer Ford.
And thank you to Morgan Burkhardt for once again providing us a track guide here tonight of Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. And hopefully we'll have those track guides once again for you all season long. And so, Jack, let's take a look as we are now almost 12 minutes into a 15-minute qualifying session where our field stands right now. Your provisional pole sitter in the Toyota GR86 Cup cars, otherwise known as Touring 3 here in the Ray Esports Racing League, is Beans Forster with a, we'll call it a 136 flat. You know, he threw in a 2 extra thousandths of a second there. But Beans is your provisional pole sitter right now, and he's got a full 400ths of a second advantage over Josh Soto in the 07 car. And here comes Josh now coming onto the downhill S's, and that big slide there. I don't think that lap is gonna get him any further up the order. Miles Crabb now running 3rd in qualifying in the Toyotas with a 136.96, so about 9/10 of a second off of Soto. Then Eric Ronenberg and John Wilson, your top 5 in the Volkswagen Jettas. Morgan Burkhardt is your provisional pole sitter. Morgan with a time of 136.85. He's sitting on the pit lane right now. I have a feeling he is probably going to wait it out, but Caleb Pocock only about 1/1500ths of a second off of probably Pocock's in one of the Toyotas. I'm sorry, Caleb Patry. Wrong Caleb. Caleb Patry, who was last season's Toyota GR86 champion. He's switched over to the Jettas, and he is right now about a half a second off of Burkhardt's best times. Skip Brock Jr., 3rd fastest, and actually I just saw Skip this past weekend in his real life Spec Miata, where he took a win at the Sark Mars Challenge at the real life Virginia International Raceway. So he's kind of running high. He is currently your 3rd fastest qualifier here in the Jettas, and then Murphy Nichols and Giancarlo Schooler. And we've got a lot of drivers, Jack, this season that have moved over from the Toyotas to the Volkswagen Jettas, and I suspect that a lot of that has to do with Grass Paddock Motorsports' Sim to Track initiative, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as the race unfolds.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that would have something to do with it, with the size of the field that we're seeing. I mean, we have, what does it look like, 23 or 24 Jettas and about, 7 or 8 Toyotas. But hey, that just opens it up for guys that didn't, have the opportunity to really run as well in the Toyotas last season. They're going to have that opportunity this season. So that'll be good for them. And as we're seeing in qualifying right now, the top 5 are only separated by about 3/10. So it's already a really tight field. Meanwhile, in the Jettas, I mean, it's a little spread out. Burkhardt, has that half-second advantage at the moment, and the others, I'm sure, want to improve on that, because as you know, at Road Atlanta, getting the pole or being on the inside is really important because that turn 1 gets really narrow really fast.
It certainly does. The front straight really narrows down on you. Of course, it's not until you get to the back straight here, as we're watching Wayne Buttermore and a couple of other drivers as well, how wide it is until you, of course, come down into turn 10A there at the bottom of the hill. As we just now have hit the 15-minute mark, checkered flag should be in the air. Last flying laps here will count for these drivers. But we're talking about grass paddocks and take that Mini Cooper to a competition licensing school. And at the end of the calendar year, grass paddock in with two other people, both Stevie Ray from Ray Esports Racing and also myself, will determine which drivers are worthy of that award. It's based on clean racing, performance improvement, and as well as participation. And we kicked it off with season number 8. We're going to get through season number 9, and again at the end of the calendar year, we'll award those prizes. All right, so we've got just a few drivers left out on track, including Antonio Rice. He is looking to put in his final flying lap, and I believe, Jack, that he is the very last driver out on course. We'll see what kind of time he puts in.
Yeah, at the moment, as we ride along with him, it looks like he's about a second off the pace, but 7/10 to Caleb Pocox. We'll see if he is able to improve upon that coming down to the line here.
As he comes in, turns in for turn number 12, and as they say in Top Gear, across the line, Antonio Rice does not improve. He puts in a time not quite as good as his best, a 138.04, and that is going to wrap things up for qualifying here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, as our drivers are starting to grid up for our first of 2 20-minute races tonight. Let's take a look at the starting order, and I'll take the Toyotas here on the pole. With a, well, they just went away. There they are on the pole with a qualifying time of 1:35.954. It's Joshua Soto with Beans Forster on the outside of row number 1. Miles Crabb will start in third with Eric Ronenberg in the 017 machine. He'll start on the outside of row number 2. Then we've got John Wilson. He's driving that blue number 80, probably actually, I don't think it's blue this time around. I think it's a silver number 82 machine with Caleb Pocock starting on the outside of row number 3 and 6. Then we've got Antonio Rice. We just saw his last qualifying lap. He'll start 7 with Wayne Buttermore starting in 8th, and Russ Lundberg, who I'm actually going to see at Portland International Raceway this coming weekend. He will be starting in 9th.
In the Jettas on row 1, we have Morgan Burkhardt in the 40, and then in second, we have Caleb Powtry. Starting third, we have Skip Brock Jr., and in the number 5, starting fourth, we have Murphy Nichols. In row 3, we have Giancarlo Schooler and Jamison Huffman, 2 to watch tonight. And then we have Megan Overstreet and Reed Gibson in row 4. Row 5, we have Justin Huffman and Thomas Pendergrass. Row 6, Seth Bowman and Gary Winters. Row 7, Michael Snow and Edgar Sanatelli.
Santinelli. That's right. We got a long season. We'll get it right.
Yeah, I'm still new. Row 8, we have Joshua Justice and Jacob Schilling. Row 9, we have Felix Borodaddy and Derek Marcos. Row 10, we have Chris Montgomery and Joe Camarelli. These names are difficult this season. Row 11, we have Deacon Greenfield and Joaquin Effinger. And then in the last row, we have Nagasiga Yoshikawa and Trenton Kramer. And
there we
go. I apologize to those drivers who I butchered your name, but I promise I'll get better by next week.
All right, there you go. That is your starting field for tonight's and this season's first race. And Jack, as our drivers are making their way across a 2.54-mile, 12-turn Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, let's talk about our sponsors for tonight's race. There are 2 of them. First up is the Common Gear. They are your single source for securely digitizing and storing automotive maintenance records. From photos of maintenance or restoration work to scans of receipts, users are easily able to catalog every piece of their car's story. Digitize or scan and back up securely in one location location while documenting your diagnostic and repair processes, which is as important as the work itself. With the Common Gear, you can keep track of the steps you take, the parts and experts you use, all the aspects of your car's history. Don't risk losing value in your investment due to lost or incomplete service and repair records. For more information, visit Common Gear at thecommongear.com or on Instagram at _Common Gear. And then we've got Grass Paddock Motorsports. We've already talked about them just a little bit. The Grass Paddock Motorsport provides Mini Cooper race car rentals, trackside support, and coaching at tracks all over the eastern half of the United States. GPM provides podium-capable rentals for B-Spec, which is the fastest-growing class of racing in the SCCA, and it has been for 3 years running, and currently it's the 4th largest class overall. Grass Paddock has a unique approach where their race cars are located near the track you want to race instead of being in a centralized location, and that way you get to avoid large towing fees. Come join us at Grass Paddock Motorsports, where Grass Paddock is not about our location, but our attitude. For more information, visit www.grasspaddock.com. And so we've got the field now here, Jack, coming down around turn 12. Green flag is in the air. Josh Soto in that red and black Toyota GR86 to driver's right. To the outside, it's Beans Forster in the blue and yellow machine with Ronenberg and Krabs still side by side. And we're going 2 by 2 by 2 through turn 1 and up towards turn number 3. Our pole sitter, Josh Soto, he's got position as they come into 3, but Beans Forster not giving up the fight yet. Still side by side as Ronenberg in that the pink 017 slides ahead of Miles Krabs to move Krab back to 4th. And then we've got Pocock, Wilson, and Antonio Rice as our Jettas now get underway. The Jettas coming through turn 3 and rolling down the hill. And Caleb Patry in that black number 198 machine. He's gotten around our pole sitter, Morgan Burkhardt, just behind. We've got side by side Jamison Huffman and Murphy Nichols, the 2 teammates, with Skip Brock Jr., who's now fallen back into 5th position with Reed Gibson, Tom Pendergrass as our leaders in the GR86 Cup cars. The Touring 3 class are now coming out of turn 7 for the first time.
Yeah, it looks like Beans was able to hold the outside on Joshua Soto, which we talked about. I didn't think he was going to be able to have that much of an advantage going up through the first couple corners, but he was able to take advantage of staying on the outside and eventually was able to work his way around Soto, and he has the lead. It's going to be tough for him to keep it, I think, with the draft being so strong in these cars, but, I mean, as we see Soto diving into the inside, and they're going to get back to battling again.
And there you go, side by side. And so, you know, with these Toyota 86s here, Jack, and very much with the Jettas as well, you would expect that maybe the leaders up towards the front, they might try to, I don't know, hold, and these are very short races, but hold off, maybe not start fighting at every single corner in the first couple laps. Maybe try to break away from the rest of the field so that, you know, maybe on lap 3 or lap 4, maybe it's a 2-car fight or a 3-car fight as opposed to the 8 or 9-car fight that it still is as we're a lap and a half into this race. Whereas you now take a look at the Jettas, and whereas Patry and Burkhardt have really stopped their fighting, at least for the time being, lap. He's now fallen 16 positions. He is now running 29th in the field, 3rd from the back of our currently running cars.
Yeah, it looks like we had a few incidents in the back. Carlos Schooler has also fallen back. And, I mean, some of the guys at the back of that Jetta pack is taking advantage of it, like Jacob Schilling. He's already up 6 spots, and, I mean, that's what you have to do. Thomas Pendergrass as well. He's up to 6th from 10th.
Yeah, same thing. Felix Bordotti's picked up a number of positions as well, taking advantage there as our GR80s, our Jetta drivers now starting to make their way through the back of the GR86 Cup field. And Morgan Burkhardt really taking advantage of that slower traffic. He's now opened up almost a 6 car length advantage over Caleb Patry. And here's a big surprise, and I don't know if he took a penalty or what the issue may be, but Jamison Huffman has brought his number 89, the red DC United livery Jetta back into the pit lane as we're a little bit further back in the field. We're taking a look right now. There's Megan Overstreet in the pink 044 machine. She's got Seth Spolman directly ahead. Spolman in the 42, that green machine. Tom Pendergrass and Reed Gibson just up from there. So nice little battle going on right now for fourth in the Jettas.
Yeah, it looks like she has just been able to hold her spot. I mean, that seems to be the way to go right now because there's a bunch of chaos going on with the Jettas. So, I mean, if you can just keep your nose clean, I think that's the way to go in that class. As for the Toyotas, it seems like they're pretty calm up here. It looks like we have about a 3 or 4 car breakaway, and Pocock's about 3.5 seconds behind those guys. So we'll see if they're able to just, stick in line and draft and pull away, but I don't think so.
Well, we saw a great move there. John Wilson in the silver and blue and white number 82 machine had gotten around Antonio Rice coming out of turn number 7. Rice just didn't get a good jump at all, and Wilson was able to come right underneath him. And I think that was after Wilson had lost a couple of positions to both Pocock and Rice, and you'll see there Kyle Pocock just a little bit further ahead in the 88 machine has worked his way clear of that trio.
Yeah, as we look back at the lead at Joshua Soto, I don't know if this is where the places he wants to be, but it might be the place that, is best for him. As we talked about, the draft is really strong, so he might just be biding his time to make a pass later on in the race, but no one wants to run in second.
No, certainly not. And you can see even there coming out of turn 5 how Josh Soto, Eric Cronenberg, Miles Crabb able to use that draft and close down almost 3 car lengths, maybe 4 car lengths onto Beans Forster, and as they all come out of turn 7, whatever advantage Forster had going down through the S's is now gone, and it is maybe Jack, this is the way I had expected it to play out in lap 1 when everybody was still fighting at every single turn, but now you have this 4-car breakaway, and as soon as I say that, Josh Soto steps to the inside, comes down driver's left, tries to outbrake Beans Forster, and we have a new leader in T3, and that is Josh Soto, as we're only 6 minutes into this 20-lap race, and it looks like Antonio Rice trying to get a position back now from John Wilson.
Yeah, and as this was going on, I see that there was a lead change for the Jettas also. Patry and Burkhardt are battling really hard. I think Patry just got back by him, and these two are going to be battling really hard, I bet, because, they have that 5-second buffer. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two race each other, because, what do? Do you want to just keep pulling away or what? Just in case, a mistake happens, contact happens, especially in these cars. You can hear the tires screaming. So anything's possible in these things for sure. Oh, as they make some contact.
Yeah, they were actually pretty close there, bumper to bumper, as they were under braking going into turn 3. And so, just 2 laps ago, we had seen where Burkhardt used the traffic to get around Caleb Patry. But those 2 drivers, they're starting to come up on our second pack in the Toyotas, coming up on I think Pocock and Wilson and Antonio Rice, as they go side by side through the heavily cambered turn number 6 and under braking into turn number 7. I guess when you don't have any other cars in class around you, getting horrible exit speed onto that long back straightaway just really doesn't matter all that much, Jack.
No, these guys are having fun right now, battling as hard as they are. It seems like every race that I've watched, these two are just stuck together like glue. So how they're able to keep it as clean as they do is very, very impressive, and it shows how skilled that these drivers in this field are.
Yeah, and so Patry was our Season 8 champion in the GR86s, in the Touring 3 cars, and he's now moved over to the Jettas. Burkhardt was our Season 8 champion in the TDI Cup. Of course, he was also our season champion in the Spec Racer Fords and also the Spec Miatas. But we can see here is Patry seems to be acclimating himself quite well to the front-wheel drive dynamics of that Volkswagen Jetta, and also the high torque and low rev limit of the Volkswagen Jetta. It's a pretty interesting car to drive because it's also very quiet. You don't hear much from the exhaust. You really have to pay a lot of attention to what the dashboard is showing you.
To deal with 4 or 5 cars, it's not just one guy. So as we see, the top 4 are still up here racing really hard. Ronenberg's making a, I don't know if he's making the move or not, but he's going to be on the inside going into this corner.
Yeah, and here's the interesting thing is that car that Ronenberg's going into 10A with is not Josh Soto, who for a while was our second place car. It was Miles Crabb, the 31 machine. And so Josh Soto falls all the way back to 4th. And as soon as I say that, he comes underneath Miles Crabb and slots into 3rd position in that battle for the lead in the Toyotas. And you can see how much these top 4 drivers now finally have really separated themselves out from the battle. That second pack, John Wilson, Caleb Pocock, Antonio Rice, almost 10 seconds now separating them.
Yeah, I almost wonder if Josh ran off the track somewhere. It's not hard to do here for sure. So I mean, that could have been it, and he slipped back, but luckily for him, he didn't slide back far enough, you know, for it to really matter. As we have,
and Forster gets very loose coming out of turn 5, comes across the nose of Eric Ronenberg and loses a lot of exit speed, and Soto is going to try to take advantage of it going into turn number 6 and up to 7, and it looks like Forster was able to limit the damage and comes out of turn 7 still in the lead.
Yeah, I didn't know what to say there. I didn't know if they were going to be spinning or what, but what a save by Beans Forrester to keep the lead, too. I mean, Soto was probably going to be really happy about that if those two got in an accident, but hey, I mean, I'm sure he'll take P2 at the moment as well.
And we see here as Josh Soto starting to draft up just a little bit on Forster. He comes down to the inside going in the 10A. You can see how the hood is already kind of folded up on Soto's machine, and I think that might when we saw Soto drop back to 4th here, Jack, I think a lot of it might be associated with that folded up hood, might have gotten into the back of another car, as we now have Ronenberg cut across the nose of Miles Crabb as they go into turn number 1, and it looks like battle on as we're just past halfway in this 20-minute race. Now just 8 minutes, or just about 8 minutes remaining.
Yeah, I mean, they're not really losing time to the rest of the pack either behind them. So, I mean, these guys can pretty much race as hard as they want. As we see, the battle for the lead in the Jettas is not cooling down at all. We have a Toyota stuck behind them, and I don't think he wants to stay there. Buttermore's...
No, that probably not. That's Wayne Buttermore. He had an off a little bit earlier that he fell back into the clutches, and I think now you're probably, as they come down the S, is going to see Burkhardt and Patry start to move away a little bit from Buttermore, but Buttermore, he needs to start looking behind him a little bit. He's got Gibson and Skip Rock Jr. and Tom Pendergrass. That whole battle there, I think, with Spolman and Megan Overstreet as well, just a little bit further back, coming up to the back of that number 73 machine. You know, and what we've seen, Jack, is that, you know, the lap times here at Michelin Raceway, they're actually somewhat comparative. The Toyotas, for the most part, are running in the mid to high 1 minute 37 range or 1 minute 38 range. And it's interesting that the second pack in the Toyotas are actually running faster than Forster, Soto, and Ronenberg. And in the Jettas, now that second pack of cars are running in the 39s, in the low 39s, which is about a second and a half faster right now than both Patry and Burkhardt are running. Since Burkhardt and Patry are side by side so often, they're giving up a lot of time around the track here. And I think you're seeing that second pack is actually starting to close up a little bit on them.
Yeah, and they're probably pretty glad that they had that big gap, you know, that they built up the first 10 minutes or so, but you know, as you said, if they keep battling like that, they're gonna get caught eventually. It's down to about a 3-second gap, and I think it was around 5 or 6 seconds just a couple minutes ago. So, I mean, the front pack as well. I mean, they built it. Wilson's got the gap down to 7 seconds, and it was around 9.5. So, if these guys can keep battling, but I mean, we still have a lot of race left. It's still about 6 minutes and then a lap, so that's plenty of time.
It is, although it looks like now Beans Forster has opened up about a 7 or 8 car length advantage over Josh Soto, who's now finally back into second position. And that may be, just maybe, Jack, within, you know, just right on the outskirts of that drafting limit. We'll see if Soto, Ronenberg, and Brock Jr. in the yellow 68 as they are locked side by side coming down into turn 10A. And wow, Brock gets by Gibson before they ever get into the braking zone, because very deep on the brakes, he might lose that advantage as they come up the hill and underneath the Fox Factory Bridge, as I think maybe Brock just didn't judge his braking zone correctly there. And wow, popping over the curb. It looks like Seth Spolman might be part of this battle as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was wondering if Skip Brock had a push to pass there for a second, but I think Reed just tricked him. I think he let him think that he was just going to let him go and then let him drive and let Skip overdrive the corner and got right back by him for the last podium spot.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I mean, it looked like he had just conceded the position, and Brock, I think, in trying to clear him going into 10A, just didn't realize that he had gone so deep before getting into the brakes, as Eric Ronenberg has some issues coming out of turn number 7 onto the back straight, and he is now a very distant 4th. So it is a 3-car battle now for the lead. Let's take a look, see what happened here as they came into turn 6 and then up to turn 7.
Looked like Ronenberg is just driving along just fine, and oh, he just went a little bit too wide and got in the grass. Yeah, that's really easy to do right there, and he just lost all of his momentum going down the most important straightaway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it looks like he wasn't able to get the nose pointed into the apex and just ran a little wide and ran out of real estate. As we jump back again to the battle for the lead in the Jettas with Caleb Patry to the inside, that black number 198 machine, and then the green, gray, and black number 40 of Burkhardt, as they are locked once again nose to tail. And it looks like the second pack now about 6.5 seconds back from our leaders here. You know, when they don't battle, that second pack closes things down. When they go side by side through every corner, like they're doing right now, that second pack closes up just a little bit. But with only 3 minutes remaining here in our 20-minute race, that 6-second advantage looks pretty insurmountable. But Reed Gibson, he's trying to hold off all of these drivers to see if he can hang on to that last podium position here as they come down through the S's, and you can see how much things have closed up here. It looks like perhaps Megan Overstreet in the 044 machine. She's maybe fallen a little bit off the scent there of Spolman, Pendergrass, Skip Brock Jr., and Reed Gibson. But you know, we are looking at a 5-car battle here for the last podium position.
Yeah, I think about 3 drivers have had that third position the last lap or so. These guys are battling really hard to get the last step on the podium. But something I want to mention about the Toyotas is Soto has caught back up to Beans, but it looks like he's passing him, but I'm not really sure if he's going to be able to hold him off with that damage, as you can see on the right front. I think that's going to hurt him on the straightaway, and Beans probably knows that. I think he's going to get right back by him, but I guess we'll see. But there's battles for the lead right here and in T4. It's insane how much these guys are switching places back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how much the draft can play into things. As again, we're watching here Soto and Forster, and they should have one more lap to go this next time by. Is look at this, that battle for third in the Jettas, in the T4 class, as Reed Gibson brings the field down through turn 12. We can see Skip Brock Jr. trying to get down to the inside, trying to get underneath Tom Pendergrass and get a run up the hill. And if Skip Brock Jr. can get alongside Pendergrass, he'll have position going into turn 3. But Pendergrass is able to get right across the nose of the number 68 machine. He's going to slot in for what is essentially a 1-lane course down through this portion of the track. We'll see what happens when they come out of turn number 5 and start to make the run down turn number 6. But I'll tell you, probably the driver or the car with the best seat in the house, Wayne Buttermore, pardon me, who's been sitting and watching some of the best battles all night long in that number 73 Toyota. Wayne currently sitting 8th in class.
Yeah, I'm not really sure if he's particularly happy about watching these battles, though, knowing he has the faster car, but it seems like this is just the cards that he was dealt tonight, so he doesn't really have a choice of what he gets to watch. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the battle for third in the Jettas is just insanity, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
All right, we're watching right now. This is the battle for 13th in the Jettas. We've got Gary Winters in that aquamarine number 02 machine, and then Justin Huffman in the 223 car. Justin is Jameson Huffman's father. And they both race together, not only here in the Esports Racing League, but in real life, racing Formula Enterprise 2 Formula cars in the Sports Car Club of America, as Winters and Huffman still side by side. And Winters, it looked like he kind of gave up the position and then was thinking about trying that over-under on Justin Huffman. But Huffman, as opposed to what we saw with Skip Brock Jr. a little bit earlier, hits his braking points and is able to hold on to the position as we jump back to look at this fight again with Reed Gibson and Tom Pendergrass for the last podium position. At this point, our Jettas, Forster and Soto and Crab, they are working their last lap as Seth Spolman Skip Brock Jr. in the 68 machine, not Spolman, has issues coming down through the S's, pulls over, and he has lost a ton of ground. But let's jump back to the lead, going into 10A. 10B for the last time. Josh Soto is your leader. Beans Forster, a great run. He's going to try to come underneath the 07 machine, but Soto holding the inside line, and as they come out of turn 12 for the very last time, taking the win in our first race of season number 8. Season number 9. It's Josh Soto. Beans Forster will come home in second. Then Miles Crabb finishing third. Eric Ronenberg will finish in fourth in the 017 car. Caleb Pocock fifth. John Wilson, Antonio Rice, and here comes Morgan Burkhardt. And look at this, Jack, all by himself with about a 6-car length advantage over Caleb Patry. Morgan Burkhardt picks up where he left off in season number 8. He is your Jetta winner. Caleb Patry second, and coming to the line and taking the third spot on the podium, Tom Pendergrass, as he runs Reed Gibson all the way to the grass. Gibson's going to finish just off the podium in fourth. Seth Spolman will finish fifth. Megan Overstreet sixth. Giancarlo Schooler will finish seventh. Skip Brock Jr. drops all the way back to eighth position. And Michael Snow will round out the top. Well, Snow finishes ninth, and Edgar Sanchinelli will round out the top 10. All right, so that was that was a handful there, Jack.
Yeah, I think that's putting it lightly.
All right, so looks like we've got some of our podium finishers coming into the commentary booth now. Tell you what, Jack, let's start off with our winner in Touring 4 in the Volkswagen TDI Cup machines. He was our Season 8 champion. He starts off the Season 9 with a win. It's Morgan Burkhardt.
Morgan, how you doing? It's Jack in the booth. How was that for you? That was pretty exciting for us to watch.
It was pretty fun. I mean, Caleb and I were just kind of dicing back and forth all race long. We had good fun. It's the one thing I'd like to mention. It was so hard to race because this car takes 4x the contact incident points so fast, or so like easy car. You have to kind of drive it with the front end of the car. You have to raise the rear enough so that it'll actually rotate around the corner, because when it's hot, the tires just have no grip. So you really have to just really just throw it into corners and pray that it kind of sticks on exit.
Right. I mean, you guys did a really good job battling for the lead. I don't think there's really hardly any contact. Like, once again, you guys are showing why you're two of the best in this series. Is there anybody that you'd like to thank tonight?
I'd definitely like to thank my parents for making all this possible, just supporting me. The rest of the Delta Sport team, with Caleb and JC, and everybody that was hanging out in a call with us. There's actually too many to name. I don't actually. There's just weird. There's like 10 of us, but I'm definitely forgetting somebody. My grandparents, of course, can't forget them. That was almost pretty bad. But the broadcasters, of course, for putting on a good show for us.
Alrighty, thank you, and we will see you next week.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Morgan Burkhardt, our winner tonight in the Touring 4 class, the Jetta TDI Cup cars. Let's now move over to our winner in Touring 3 in the Toyota GR86s. It's Josh Soto.
Okay, Josh, I'm just going to go ahead and apologize. I wrote you off. I saw the damage that you had on the right front, and I was like, yeah, there's no way this guy's going to win. And then you proved me wrong, and you did it. Tell me how that happened.
Oh man, I honestly don't know how it happened. I thought I was gonna have like a huge disadvantage like with draft, but it ended up being like a lot of understeer, especially like out of what is it, turn 7. Yeah, it was like a ton of understeer. I guess that was because of the damage, but I ended up just adjusting and was able to make the win happen.
I think we might have missed how that damage happened. Can you tell me how that happened? Because we saw you in first and second, then all of a sudden you had fell back and forth for a little bit.
Oh yeah, it was after the S's, like near turn 5. The car, I had a little bit of understeer, and then I ended up going wide, and then I hit the barrier, like the main barrier that everybody hits.
Wow.
Going up turn 5.
Well, I'm glad that it worked out for you. Congratulations on the victory. Is there anybody that you'd like to thank tonight?
Oh yeah, I would like to thank Apex. You know, you guys do the broadcasting. I would like to thank my friends and my family.
Alrighty, thank you, and we will see you next week. Congratulations on the win again, and I mean, I guess you'll have to prove me wrong again with more damage next week. I don't know.
All right, thank you.
All right, there you go. Josh Soto taking the win tonight in the GR86, the T4 class. Congratulations to him. And so what we are going to do now is, Jack, we're going to take a quick little break. We're going to thank some of our partners and sponsors that bring you tonight's action from the Esports Racing League here on Apex Racing TV. We'll be right back.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
And welcome back to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta for the opening round of Season 9 of the Ray Esports Racing League. I'm Greg Ginsberg along with Jack Ritchie, and after we just had our mixed class racing with our touring cars, and congratulations once again to our Touring 3 winner Josh Soto, our Touring 4 winner Morgan Burkhardt. We're going to change gears just a little bit and actually I guess change gears with a SCCA 6-speed sequential transmission, Jack, as we move over to the Spec Racer Fords, who are out on track right now for their 15-minute qualifying session. Now just a touch under halfway through the 15 minutes.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of the same drivers that we saw in the last race are going to be in this one too, so I'm sure we're going to be having quite a show. I mean, Morgan Burkhardt and Patchy put on a show, and Soto put on a show. I mean, all these guys put on a show. It's a treat to watch. Each and every one of them race every week.
Yeah, indeed. And so Antonio Rice, who we saw put on a pretty good showing here in the GR86s in the last race, driving the number 914 machine. He is a driver. I don't want to say he's a hot shoe in a Spec Racer Ford, but he's definitely known for wheeling one of those cars in another one of the Ray Esports leagues that is carried on Apex Racing TV on the weekends, on Sundays, the Weekend Warriors League. And so we'll see how he can do, if he can move up from 10th currently in the order. We're taking a look right now at Jamison Huffman. I'll need to find out how and why Jamison only made about 2 laps in the Jettas early on, but he is out in his Spec Racer Ford right now, currently your 3rd fastest driver on track. Skip Rock Jr., who we saw just a little while ago in the Jettas, once again in the yellow number. That is Josh Soto, who we just saw a little while ago in the GR86s. And hey, now we know how he got into the wall. Driver's right at turn 5 in the last race. But Burkhardt has been putting in a lot of time in a real-life Spec Racer Ford in the last few weeks. That 2 weeks ago, he ran at Pittsburgh International Race Complex as part of the SCCA's U.S. Majors Tour, and came away with 2 wins, one in the wet, one in decidedly mixed conditions. I think I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned this, but he took a win a couple of weeks ago at Summit Point Raceway as well. And Burkhardt only has, I think, 3 or 4 weekends behind the wheel of a Spec Racer Ford, so he's really acquitting himself quite well and using a lot of what he's learned here on the iRacing platform to the real world.
That's pretty cool. That's always cool to see, drivers that race these kind of cars in real life, and they translate it over to sim racing, and they're able to use those skills on both assets. So that's pretty cool. But I think one person that is happy to be in this race is Wayne Buttermore. I cannot imagine how he felt last race, being stuck behind slower cars the entire race. Luckily for him, they're all in the same car this time. So
yeah, and good on Wayne, who is a flag marshal with the Sports Car Club of America as a volunteer. He was kind of content to sit back there and watch that race rather than break it up. And that's one of the one of the challenges you have in mixed class racing. Especially if you don't necessarily have somebody in your class to race, and how you handle that. And I think he may have conceded and given up a chance to work his way up through the field and get back into that GR86, that Touring 3 race, solely so that he would not impact the Jetta race that was going on ahead of him. As we watch Caleb Patry coming out of turn 12. Actually, watching a lot of drivers coming out of turn 12 right now. I think that might have been Megan Overstreet that took to the grass on the outside. Actually, it was Nagase Yoshikawa, pardon me, who went through the outside of turn 12 there in the grass. There's Megan Overstreet just coming out of turn 5 going into turn 6. But we had Caleb Patry in the 198 machine trying to improve upon his time. He's sitting 8th right now. We had Morgan Burkhardt right behind, and then we saw Yoshikawa go to the grass. But Megan Overstreet, who's also part of that Weekend Warriors League on Sundays here on Apex Racing TV, she's currently qualified in 10th position as we watch Chris Montgomery in the 313 machine make his way down through the S's He's got a 134.17, pardon me, a 134.10 for a fast time, and that is, I mean, just hundredths of a second off of the cars in front of him. And pardon me, it is a 134.17. Josh Soto, who is qualified 7th, only 700ths of a second faster than that. Beans Forster, a 10th of a second faster from there. So, you know, we saw that incredibly close running and qualifying, Jack, in the Jettas and the Toyotas, and it's carrying over once again here to the Spec Racer Fords.
Yeah, it looks like 2nd to 15th is separated by a little over a second, and Burkhardt is just kind of checked out at the moment. We'll see in these last, well, and speaking of it, Giancarlo Schooler moves up to 2nd, about 4/10ths back. I mean, that's still a pretty decent gap, though. So, oh, and there's another one. There's Reese. I don't know. I think the one that's surprising me is Patry. He's down in 11th. It'll be interesting to see if he improves on his lap time, because him and Beans Forrester as well. Those guys are really fast, and Beans did not improve. So, man, watching these guys come from mid-pack may be a treat if that's where they end up.
All right, and we were just a moment ago focusing on Josh Justice, driver of the number 99 machine, and Josh currently running 14th, like Morgan Burkhardt. And there's Josh, a Spec Racer Ford racer in real life. Just had an event at Eagles Canyon Raceway in Texas, and had been fighting it out for a podium position. And I believe he did come away with a 3rd place finish, if I remember correctly. But good to see him once again. This is, I think, his 4th or 5th season racing with us here in the Ray Esports Racing League, and again, currently now qualified 14th in the field with just a little bit more than a minute remaining. So if he can get to the line here in the next minute, and he'll get at least one more flying lap as we go back to check in on Giancarlo Schooler. Schooler, trying to work off the draft of Morgan Burkhardt just ahead of him, is currently sitting 3rd here in qualifying. And you know, if we go and take a look at the representative times, and looks like just as we say that, the announcer's curse kicks in, and that looks like it's gonna call it a day for Giancarlo Schooler, at least call it a qualifying session for Schooler.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention his comeback too in the last race. I did not notice until you ran down the grid that he had finished 7th. He had fallen well behind, down in like the 19th or 20th position on lap 1 of that last race in the Jettas, and he was able to recover to 7th. So I'm sure he's looking forward to a better race already in this one.
Yeah, indeed, as we're back on board with Jameson Huffman here. As we are 10 seconds from the checkered flag flying. Huffman looking to improve upon his 8th fastest time here in qualifying, and turns his fastest lap of the session, a 134.01, but that is still about 400ths of a second off of Megan Overstreet. But Huffman, as he crossed the line just before the checkered flag comes out, he's got one more chance to move up in the order from the outside of row number 4 as Overstreet crosses the line, and she sets her fastest lap of the session, a 133.97. But that is not enough to leapfrog Skip Brock and move up to row number well, actually, will she'd still be on row number 3 there, as Patry jumps all the way up to 4th.
Yeah, that's what we were looking at too. We were waiting for him to put in that flyer, and he did.
And it looks like Jameson Huffman wasn't altogether happy with his last flying lap. Apparently that Spec Racer Ford goes as quickly backwards after slamming into a wall as it goes forward. As we're watching Antonio Rice, he's trying to take pole from Morgan Burkhardt. He's got to make up about 4/10 of a second, and as he crosses the line, he is almost 4 seconds off of his fastest lap of the session. Not good enough to move to the inside of row number 1. So there you go, Rice, our final driver to set a qualifying time, and we'll see Sure, iRacing is going to send him back to the pits in just a moment here, but at least in the meantime, he's trying to get as much practice in as he can, and there you go. The session is now done, and we've got drivers now starting the grid up. Let's take a look at the starting order. Starting on the front row, on pole, with a qualifying time of 1:33.141, it is Morgan Burkhardt looking for his second win of the evening. Antonio Rice, he will start on the outside of row number 1, driving the 914 car, qualifying almost 42 hundredths of a second off of Burkhardt. Giancarlo Schooler moves up into third, driving the number 111 car. He'll start on the inside of row number 2, with Caleb Patry starting just to his left. In fourth position, Miles Crabb, he'll start fifth in the number 31 machine, with Nagase Yoshikawa in the 98 car starting in sixth. Skip Brock Jr. will start seventh, with Megan Overstreet starting on the outside of row number 4 in the 044 machine. Jamison Huffman in the 89 car will start ninth, and Beans Forrester, driving that yellow and blue number 231, he'll start 10th.
Starting 11th, my pick to win, I think, from the GR86 earlier. I mean, that's who he won that earlier. I think he's going to win this one too. Joshua Soto starting 11th. Starting 12th is Chris Montgomery. 13th we have Murphy Nichols, and 14th we have Joshua Justice. 15th we have Justin Huffman, and 16th Caleb Pocock, who I believe got a top 5 in that GR86 race earlier. 17th we have Deacon Greenfield. 18th Edgar Stancinelli. I think I did better that time.
You got it, man. You got it.
All right. 19th, we have Wayne Buttermore, and rounding out the field, we have Joaquin Effinger. See, a little bit of practice.
You go. You see, you ran the table there, man. 100%. You don't even have to wait till next week. You got it, dude. All right. As we've got the pace car now rolling off, and a little bit of a burnout there from Morgan Burkhardt to get the car rolling, and that might be why he burned up a clutch at a race, at a real-life race a couple of weeks ago. Let's talk about our sponsor for our second race of the evening, and that is, appropriately enough, Spec Racer Sports. Spec Racer Sports' mission is to help fuel and support your addiction to road racing. And Spec Racer Sports delivers by providing the parts and services you need when you need them at a fair, competitive price, and all with exceptional customer support. Located trackside at Motorsports Ranch, Houston, Spec Racer Sports offers exceptionally prepared Spec Racer Fords for rental and for sale. They offer storage and support and driver coaching, as well as technical services such as chassis dyno work and fabrication. To find out more about Spec Racer Sports and their services, visit https://www.specracersports.com. And you know, I went through that whole thing just to stretch things out. But there you go, and I want to welcome back Spec Racer Sports. This is their third season sponsoring us, and it has been, I think, a very fruitful sponsorship all around, as we've got the pace car now bringing the field. Morgan Burkhardt and Antonio Rice up into turn 7 and onto the front straight, and my gosh, it's like somebody hit the high speed button with the pace car there. He's going probably a good 80 miles an hour, I think. Actually, that's not true. He's going about 70, which is still quite quick.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that what the drivers want, though? They want this thing to get going. And Antonio right now in his mind has to think he's at a disadvantage. But as we saw in the last race, being on the outside of turn 1 may not be as detrimental as we originally thought it was too. And I don't know. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on what Burkhardt does. If he tries to cheat over and move over maybe center track and drive Antonio out to driver's left, there is not a lot of grip along the outside of turn number 1. Usually lots of marbles there, and of course, if you slide off, there is a lot of grass going uphill. But our drivers now making their way out of turns 10A and 10B and underneath the Fox Factory Bridge. The pace car now on the pit lane, turning the field over to Morgan Burkhardt, and you see Giancarlo Schooler pushing Burkhardt ahead down the hill, trying to get him to move, and green flag is in the air, and it looks like it helped because Antonio Rice did not get a good start from the outside lane, and now Schooler's going to cut right across the nose of Rice. Contact between Antonio Rice and Miles Crabb as those two drivers go off into the gravel trap. It looks like Josh Justice might have gotten caught up in that as well, and Antonio Rice, he is already in the pits with a damaged car. Your leader, Morgan Morgan Burkhardt, Giancarlo Schooler running in second, Skip Brock Jr. running third, Jamison Huffman fourth, and then a big gaggle of cars back behind Jamison Huffman, who runs over a ton of curbing at the apex of 5. It is Murphy Nichols, Beans Forster, Yoshikawa, Justin Huffman, Megan Overstreet, Deacon Greenfield all the way back as they come into turn 6. But wow, what a start there, Jack.
Yeah, it looked like they headed down into turn 1, and I don't think that Antonio got the jump that he was looking for. Oh man, that has to be. Oh, we have another incident with Megan Overstreet.
And that's Megan Overstreet and Justin Huffman as they get together coming out of turn 7. That's going to allow Josh Justice, who had that turn 1 off, to pick up some ground. And it looks like Overstreet lost the front nose on that Spec Racer Ford. That is going to create some tremendous issues for her, some drag issues. She's just not going to have a lot of straight line speed.
Yeah, that's very true. As we saw though in the last race with Soto, he had damage too, but I think Megan has just a little bit more. But as we were talking about in turn 1, Antonio didn't get the jump that he was looking for, and I don't think it had anything to do with him being on the outside. I'm not sure what happened, and then this contact trying to defend his position.
Oh, and as Caleb Patry moves right across the nose of Jamison Huffman, going off, spinning the car over at turn 1. That was Josh Soto, who was our Touring 3 winner from earlier tonight. And so, Jack, you might want to rework that prediction because Josh Soto now falling all the way back through the order, and he is sitting now 19th, the last car running on track currently.
Yeah, I don't think I picked him. I don't think that was me.
Don't scrub back on YouTube. It never happened. All right. Caleb Pocock and Deacon Greenfield side by side coming down into turn 6 as Pocock now takes over 9th position. Both Pocock and Greenfield having made up 7 positions from the start of the race. Those two drivers, they are your hard chargers. Actually, we'll throw in Murphy Nichols in there as well, as Nichols currently running in 6th position. He started 13th tonight.
Yeah, and Jamison Huffman also up 4 positions, and Skip Brock Jr. up 5, up to P2 already. And man, he's looking for the lead. He's only about 1 to 2 tenths behind the leader. And Burkhardt had a really big advantage in qualifying. It doesn't seem like that advantage is carrying over quite yet to the race, probably because of the draft and things, but I don't know. We'll see what
goes around, and he is going to lose numerous positions. It looks like Justin Huffman had some issues just back behind him at coming out of turn 3 and went off driver's right. But Pocock now going to fall back to 17th position as we take a look at Jamison Huffman and Murphy Nichols going at it. This right now is the battle for 5th.
I thought the last race that we watched was going to be wild, but it seems to be that this one tonight in the Ford Spec Racers is the wild one. My goodness, we've seen so many good contenders already involved in incidents, and it's only lap 3.
Morgan Burkhardt just sets the fastest lap of the race as he's starting to open up now just a little bit over Skip Brock Jr. Not much as we jump over to, this is now the battle for 10th position. Deacon Greenfield, Chris Montgomery. Greenfield to driver's right, Montgomery to driver's left as they go side by side down into 10A. Edgar Sanchinelli in that black and yellow machine directly behind, and Josh Justice starting to work his way back through the field as well as they come underneath the Fox Factory Bridge, and they are now starting their 3rd lap here in this 20-minute race, and we're only Jack a quarter of the way done, 5 minutes into this 20-minute race.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of chaos going on, and it looks like we have a top 4 breakaway there. Oh, I don't know. Giancarlo Schooler seems to have just ran off or something because he's losing a bunch of time. Not sure what happened.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he had a slowdown up at the top of the hill at turn 3, possibly. We'll see if he lets by Murphy Nichols in 5th. Let's take a look at the replay here, see exactly what happened as they came up the hill over that blind left-hander at turn 2 and set up for turn 3. Oh, well, there you go. And he just, Giancarlo Schooler just manages to avoid getting into the flank of Caleb Patry as he went to rejoin coming down the S's there. But nope, no slowdown penalty unless you count going through the grass for a couple hundred feet, the slowdown penalty.
Yeah, it looked like he didn't want to hit Skip Brock, so instead of doing that, he slams the brakes and goes in the grass and takes a little bit of a penalty rather than having that big incident, which probably was a really smart move. He still has a clean race car and 15 minutes to go.
Yeah, and just gave up a position, position to Patry and a position to Nichols, but he's still in the fight as we jump back. Now, Miles Crabb, who we saw put in a real good effort in the GR86s a little bit earlier. He has lost 6 positions since the start of this race, and he's got Josh Justice right with him. And here's something interesting, as we've got Beans Forster coming down the pit lane. Not exactly sure what happened there for Beans, and we'll see. Maybe he didn't put enough fuel in the car. Didn't look like he had picked up any kind of damage, but we'll see exactly what happens.
Yeah, that was one of our big contenders too. Like you said, I didn't see any damage, so I don't know. As we see the top 3 breaking away right here, Patry, who we were looking at in qualifying, I think if he starts 10th or 11th in this race, he probably doesn't have the opportunity to have a shot to win with all the chaos, but he was able to put in that lap and qualify 4th, and look where he's at now, P3.
There you go, and he's right on the back of Skip Brock Jr. With those 2 racers maybe losing a little bit of ground. You can see the great jump out of 7 that Morgan Burkhardt got, and Patry now seeing an opportunity coming down under, not even under braking yet. He may even be able to get past Skip Brock Jr. as they come into 10A, and he gets the move done prior to turn in. Skip Brock Jr. is going to try the over-under. He gets the inside position, and as they come down the hill, Skip Brock Jr. able to get back around Giancarlo Schooler, moves back up to 2nd, but in doing so, it's given Morgan Burkhardt a little bit of coverage there, and has allowed Burkhardt to maybe open up another 2 car lengths over Skip Brock and Caleb Patry. And looks like Giancarlo Schooler, he's starting to inch his way up towards that lead pack of 3 as we jump back a little further in the field.
Yeah, and as that was going on too, Jamison Huffman made a pit stop, so both of the Huffmans are having a rough night tonight. Oh, as the 99 runs off the course, Joshua Justice, he's into the grass. Let's see if he can save it. Looks like he's just going to throttle up and get back on the pavement and be good to go.
There you go, and he avoided that wall driver's left that catches so many people out, and that's Justice's 2nd time off at turn 1. He had that he got caught up in that early lap 1 incident as well.
Speaking of, as we were looking at that, Megan Overstreet has worked her way up back to 10th position with that beat-up race car, and she's making the move for 9th as we speak. I don't think damage means anything tonight.
Yeah, look at that as she comes underneath Deacon Greenfield. We'll see what happens when they get onto the back straight here, because I think this is going to be the section of the track where Overstreet is maybe a little overmatched. But we've got Soto and Greenfield came out of turn 7 almost side by side, and that's given Megan Overstreet maybe a little bit of coverage there as they come down to 10A. But now you can see where the draft is picking up as both Soto and Greenfield are going to try to outbreak Overstreet down into 10A. Wow, and you can see there is Soto on the brakes, hard on the brakes, big wiggle, and pardon me, Greenfield having to just plant his right foot into the brake pedal and stood the thing on its nose. It looked like he had to do all that he could, Jack, to keep from going right into the back of the 07 car.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure how much that damage is affecting Megan either. That the lap before this one, where she ran at 137, she ran at 134.9, and the leaders are running the low 134s. So I don't know. Maybe maybe it doesn't matter as much as we thought it did. But
a good exit and a good run down the back straight. You know, he's had the advantage of the draft to kind of keep him in the game.
Yeah, it definitely appears that way, and I mean, I think that's what's hurting Giancarlo at the moment, because he's fallen back to about 5.5 seconds back as we see a pass. Murphy Nichols making the pass on Yoshikawa for P5 right here.
Yeah, and that was nice. Oh, Nichols, he might have just
don't do that.
Yeah, came pretty close to throwing away all he had just picked up. You know, he made a real nice move on Yoshikawa, turning in late and getting that over-under done, while Yoshikawa was still trying to fight to keep the car on track coming out of 10A going into 10B. But now Murphy Nichols, hot, into turn 3, and he runs the car into the grass and into the motorcycle lane there. And Murphy Nichols, who was in the fight, was up in 5th position. He now finds himself now back into 8th.
Yeah, and that's the worst feeling too, right? You just made that really cool pass, you got to P5, you're feeling pretty good, and then just a couple corners later you bend it. I've had that happen. It sucks. Not fun.
To put it mildly, it just sucks. As Caleb Pocock in the black number 88 machine, he motors past Josh Justice coming out of turn number 5. And as they come through turn number 6, he cements that position now. He has made up 5 positions over the course of the race. Oh, and back behind him, I think that was Deacon Greenfield. Indeed, it was the number 36 machine. Gets it wrong, maybe gets into the throttle a little hot there coming out of turn 7, loops the car around, does a nice little spin and recovery there. He's back underway, but he now falls back into 12th position.
Antonelli looks like he wants to make it 3 wide. He decides he probably shouldn't do that, which was a good choice. Josh Justice, oh man, what a move.
That was a great move, though, by Justice, as Sancinelli tried to do, you could see him trying to set up the over-under there, and Josh Justice was just able to get the car turned in and ran and just did a great job getting the car rotated to 10B and able to keep the car all the way driver's right to block off that move up the inside from either Sancinelli or Caleb Pocock.
Yeah, it looks like we've had a couple incidents on front too. Giancarlo Schooler is now 17 seconds back in 5th, and Skip Brock Jr. has also fallen back to about 3.5 seconds. So I'm not really sure what's going on up there, but something's definitely happened with those two to let the front 2 get away.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to take a look. Thank you, Lee. Just as we were asking, as they come down, there is Skip Brock right behind Burkhardt and Patry as they come into 10A. And you can see there, just went deep on the brakes. Now we saw him do that earlier tonight in the Jettas, and did it once again in the Spec Racer Fords. And it's got to be tough, though. You're locked underneath, and there's Giancarlo Schooler having issues coming out of turn number 6, and looks like he's gotten that car back underway.
Second time.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult when you're locked under the tail of the car directly ahead, and you can't really see your markers and what you're using to turn in or to brake, and you just kind of have to go on feel. And unfortunately, it looks like Skip Rock Jr. wasn't able to feel it out that time. As we jump back, this is a great fight. It's this is the battle for 5th. We've got Soto in the 07 machine up front. We've got Chris Montgomery in the 313 in the blue and red machine, and then we've got Murphy Nichols, Crab, and Megan Overstreet there in that group as well. And and again, I think Overstreet, she's driving the heck out of that car, but it's hurting for straight line speed on that long back straight.
Yeah, and I think as long as she sticks behind someone, that's why she's been able to keep up. But as soon as she pulls out the pass, probably all that air just hits, the nose is gone. So it's just hitting straight motor.
Yeah, so we've got just a little bit less now than 5 minutes remaining. We're 3/4 of the way through this 20-minute race. Oh, a big lunge there and a wiggle from Murphy Nichols before he gets the car turned in for turn number 7. Might have had some issues with the downshift there, possibly. But it looks like now Josh Soto starting to open things up on the rest of that field, coming around, working his way around. There is Miles Crab trying to come underneath Murphy Nichols as we jump back to the battle for the lead, which is now a 2-car battle rather than a 3-car battle. And lo and behold here, Jack, didn't we just see this in our Jetta race with Caleb Patry and Morgan Burkhardt? Just the two of them separated from everybody else.
We did. We saw those two battling really hard. and Burkhardt got the win in the last one. We'll see if he's able to do that in this one too, because these two are pushing the limits of the track for sure. And while this has happened, it looks like Schooler went ahead and retired from this race, which is a shame because he was running so well tonight.
Yeah, it looks like he has called it a night here as our drivers come out, our leaders come out of turn 7, and with just about 3 minutes and 10 seconds remaining, I'd suspect that when our leaders cross the stripe, they'll probably have 3 more laps, probably 2 more laps. Sorry, and here we go as we continue to watch this this fight here. Soto just ahead of this battle here by a couple car lengths, but it's Montgomery and Crabb with Murphy Nichols and Megan Overstreet as well as they come onto the back straight. And let's see what the 31 machine can do if he can draft back up to the blue and red number 313. And you can see there, right as they get to the crest of the hill, that's when the draft really starts to take effect. He gets the slingshot and he comes down the inside. Can he get the car woed down as he comes up right across the nose? And can he hold off? Can he hold off the 31? I don't think so.
Nope, and he's gonna lose another spot.
That's
hit him, and it's crazy. What a wild track. This track.
Yeah, I mean, between the different elevation changes, you have to always be careful and cognizant of the curbing around here, especially in something like the Spec Racer Ford, where you can see it will lift the car up. Although, you know, Morgan Burkhardt said that the curbing is very important here in the Spec Racer Fords. He told us that during his track guide this evening as our leaders come out of turn 10B and underneath the Fox Factory Bridge, and with only 1:10 remaining on the clock, white flag is now in the air. There it is, waving away. Barney waving that white flag, and we are on the last lap here tonight for the Esports Racing League from Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta.
As we approach this last lap, I don't know if Burkhardt's going to be able to hold off Caleb here. I mean, but
and as they're coming into braking now through turn 7, look at the rotation that Burkhardt gets and just places it perfectly on the curbing. Burkhardt now trying to break the draft, doing the weave, but you can see there Patry, he's already locked in. He's now only about 2 car lengths back, and Burkhardt realizes at this point he can't keep that up. But we're going to see here Patry probably poked to the inside. Burkhardt goes to the center of track to cover, make it very difficult for Patry. Brake lock up from Caleb Patry, and Patry goes to the grass as he tries to get the car woed down. And Morgan Burkhardt, he's going to take the win, race his second race of the evening, the second time he's been able to outsmart Caleb Patry here in the Esports Racing League from Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. Burkhardt, your winner. Patry second. Skip Brock Jr. will come home in third. That is your podium. And now we've got drivers all over the place down at 10A and 10B. Nagase Yoshikawa, he comes down, and does Yoshikawa take to the pits? No, that was Murphy Nichols going into the pits. So Yoshikawa, he will come home in 4th. Josh Soto 5th. Montgomery will finish 6th. Overstreet comes in 7th. Murphy Nichols comes down the pit lane on the last lap, and he will finish in 8th. Josh Justice will finish 9th. Great recovery for Josh. And Edgar Sancinelli will round out the top 10. Wow.
What a race.
Yeah, and I'm wondering what happened to Murphy Nichols there as he came down the pit lane. Rather than take the checkered flag on track, you know, but you just saw there as Burkhardt kind of pushed Patry a little bit further to the inside than perhaps he wanted. And I think as Patry was trying to deal with that situation, just again a little bit late on the brakes and couldn't get the car woed down. We saw the brake lock up, and by the time Patry released that brake pedal, it was all she wrote, and he was going to the gravel trap in the grass. All right, so let's take a look here. We have got in the commentary booth Morgan Burkhardt. We'll give it another half second or so to see if Caleb Patry comes in to join us. But there is your finishing order as Burkhardt takes the win over Patry by a little bit over a second. Skip Rock Jr. 5 seconds back from there. Yoshikawa finishing just off the podium with Josh Soto. And of course, we talked earlier, Antonio Rice, who started on the front row tonight. He was our first racer out after his lap 1 incident. And let's take a look here. And I don't see Caleb Patry coming to join us at the moment. So for the second time tonight, let's welcome to the commentary booth Morgan Burkhardt, driver of the number 40 Spec Racer Ford, our winner in race 2.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. So we saw you took a little bit of a defensive measure, but you kind of were a sit and duck until he cooked the brakes. What were your thoughts going into that corner with him having all the momentum?
I knew he was struggling with a brake pedal issue. I think it was the adjuster was rubbing against something, and it was constantly getting stiffer the whole race. So I didn't want to go super defensive and then have something catastrophic happen. So I was kind of just a little bit cautious, and I think it bit him in the end, going into the final hairpin on the final lap. But yeah, I have realized over a lot of races here that going around the outside at the beginning of it's a little bit better, because if you can carry a run up the hill, you'll have the inside for the final corner, and it's not the best all the way down the front straight, but it gets you to the line that a little bit faster.
And what were your thoughts about, I think it was Giancarlo pushing you on at the very beginning of the race right there to give you the big jump?
Oh, the push on the start of the race was really quite good. We were able to get a super good jump on the right side, and then going down the back straight, we experimented with a bump draft that was a little bit too fast, but it all ended up okay. The cars, I don't know if they changed it, but you can't bump as hard as you used to be able to. It used to be you could come in 2 or 3 miles an hour faster than the car in front, and you wouldn't get an incident point for it, and now you do. So it's an interesting one, but it's still pretty fun to race.
Alrighty, well, congratulations on the win tonight. Your second win. I mean, off to season 9 with a great start, 2 wins. I mean, can't beat that. Is there anybody you'd like to thank?
I'm trying to think of anybody I missed from the first one. I'm going to take this opportunity I'm going to go ahead and thank Mike, Amy, and Doggone Racing for providing a real great car in the real world with the stuff that we're doing with the Spec Racer Ford. I don't think I would have been able to do any of the things that I have accomplished so far this season without that car, without his support and all of his engineering know-how. But yeah, if you're looking for a front run Spec Racer Ford in the real world, go look up doggoneracing.com. That's where you want to be.
Alrighty, well, we appreciate you coming in here and talking to us, and congrats on the 2 wins tonight, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
All right, there you go. Morgan Burkhardt taking his second win of the evening and kind of picking up where he left off for season number 8. Morgan was your season 8 Spec Racer Ford champion, and he comes back, starts season 9 off with a win. All right, so Jack, let's go and start wrapping things up here, and I'll give you a little bit of a tease on some of our upcoming events here in the Ray Esports Racing League. I already said next week we are, and that's next Tuesday night, May 16th. New early start time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. We're going to have the Spec Racer Fords once again. They're going to lead off the evening, and we're going to wrap things up with the Spec Miatas there from Mid-Ohio. We're also going to be at some other great tracks around the United States. We're going to be at Sonoma Raceway, of course, Watkins Glen International. If you want some speed and you want some drafting, that is the place to be. Most Sport, heading north of the border. We're going to be at, of course, my home track, the place I call home, Summit Point Motorsports Park. We're going to be at the Circuit of the Americas and Road America. And we're going to be wrapping up the regular season at Laguna Seca. So, a lot of iconic, historic American tracks. I don't think Summit Point necessarily falls into that category, but I'll fight you over it anyhow. All right, so Jack, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Want to thank Lee Lee Thompson with Apex Racing TV for all the great technical assistance here this evening. And of course, want to thank Stevie Ray from Ray Esports Racing for once again giving us a wonderful league and some great competition to call. And of course, our sponsors, Spec Racer Sports, Grassroots Motorsports Magazine, Grass Paddock Motorsports, and the Common Gear. And so we'll see you next Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Have a wonderful week, everybody.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And are why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.